It will be recorded. A little housekeeping before we get started. This is Introduction to Canva for Small Businesses. Feel free to put any questions as I'm going through the presentation into the chat. And then at the end, I will also open up the floor to, you can just ask questions, but please keep yourself muted until the end of the presentation. And let's go. So about the Kirstein Business Library and Innovation Center. The Kirstein Business Branch opened on May 7th, 1930. So we are about to celebrate our 95th birthday. We eventually moved to the lower level of the Copley Square branch. If you've ever visited us, and if you haven't, please come visit us. And then that's when the innovation piece was incorporated. So we have things like the InnoLab, which has recording software, green screen, video editing software, and a lot of different things. We're kind of developing it into more of a podcasting studio, slowly but surely. So that's something really exciting to look forward to for everyone. And we also have services for workforce development. We have an entrepreneur in residence who helps other entrepreneurs start their businesses or develop their businesses. We have a financial literacy librarian. It is Financial Literacy Month in April. So we have a ton of programming about financial literacy. So please check out our website. It's very robust this month. If you're interested in things like budgeting, investing, that sorts of thing. And here we go. So, sorry, I don't know why that's not going forward. Apologies. Presentation. Hold on one second. So our agenda today, we'll talk about what is Canva. We'll talk about Canva versus Canva Pro, which is the paid Canva subscription. We'll go over what you can create with Canva, which is so many things. Talk just briefly about creating an account, very basically, about creating your brand for your business. I'll do a little tutorial just about doing a logo and a business card, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. So what is Canva? Canva is a multi-purpose graphic design platform. You can use it to create social media graphics, flyers, postcards, presentations, invitations, menus, infographics, and more. I used Canva to create this presentation. It's very easy to learn. It's very simple, drag and drop. So you don't need experience with things like the Adobe suite. You don't need a graphic design degree. It is a really great platform if you would like to eventually learn things like the Adobe suite, but obviously Adobe is expensive. We do have access to that in the InnoLab and on one of the computers at Cablick, but Canva is a great alternative. And again, you do have free and paid versions. So Canva free is free. And it's honestly a great resource. The great thing about Canva is that you can get a 30-day free trial for Canva Pro. So once you kind of explore free Canva, you can see the kind of elements. They make it very clear which are the free elements, which are the paid elements. But before you delve even into the trial, you can really see how you could use it, because maybe you don't need all the bells and whistles. Maybe you'll just be fine with Canva free. But then you can have a 30-day trial, which is awesome. You can also get Canva for teams. So if you have a team, but again, just Canva Pro or Canva free could be fine for you. Again, here are kind of the comparisons. Obviously, there are different things like in Canva Pro, you can have a brand kit, which can be super useful. I'm going to show you a couple of loopholes to kind of get away from having to use Canva Pro. But if you do think that you're going to be using it heavily, and it is really important, as I'll emphasize throughout this presentation, about brand recognition and making sure that, you have standards set and it's always looks like your brand throughout your website, social media, any communications you're having with your patrons. You want it to all be consistent. But again, as you can see, 250,000 free templates versus 420 free templates. Probably you can find what you want in Canva free. It's just there's a little extra in Canva Pro. Again, what can you create? Instagram posts, websites, infographics, presentations like this one, videos. I use Canva often to kind of make my video recordings for programs at Cablick more presentable with more information in the videos as well. So really awesome features. And then just to sign up for an account, all you do is go to canva.com, click up sign up right here. It'll ask for your email and you just sign up, and you don't have to put a credit card or anything. It's very easy to sign up for. And then again, I wouldn't do the trial for Canva Pro immediately. I would learn more about Canva, see what you would really use it for, and then you can use the Pro trial actually to create things. So as I said, we are going to talk a lot in this about creating your brand. And I found this brand style guide or brand board on Canva. So if you just searched on Canva, and I'll show you kind of how to search for things. And really it's so many different, I've looked for very specific templates, very specific themes in Canva, and I've always found something that would work. And so I just searched for a brand style guide and it gave me this. So this is just the one that they had in Canva, but we'll talk about how you would pick your colors and things like that. But as you can see, you can just add this on and then you have this for yourself, just as a reference. And for, if you're sharing this with future employees, with, whoever's going to be marketing your business at some point, it's just really good for your record so you stay consistent again. So again, when you're creating a brand style guide, it makes it easy to create designs like social media graphics, t-shirts, your website, pricing guides, etc., that are consistently on brand for your business. So whether you're a solopreneur or have a small team, you'll want to have a brand style guide for quick reference and sharing. You want, when you are a business owner, you want that consistency, you want that great communication, you want everyone to be on the same page. That's, a very important aspect of any kind of business. And so a style guide will help you with that consistency and communication. So when you create a brand style guide, you want to write down your brand strategy and mission. You want to add your brand color palette, and I will show you a kind of a way to get inspired for colors. Add your brand fonts. We'll also go over that. Your logo, and then any photography guidelines and business name spellings, which are also very important. So I'm not going to click on this link right now, but you will get a copy of this presentation when I send you the video tutorial, the recording as well. This is a really great little tutorial that kind of just shows you how to start the basics of a brand kit. It's also from Canva, and it's just like a little fun lesson on picking things and like what's appropriate, like appropriate fonts versus inappropriate fonts. Like I used to work for a consulting firm, and I remember that there was a law firm that I was researching, and they used like Comic Sans on their website. Like it was super goofy and it was like teal. It was truly wild. And I have a lot of questions about the choice there, but obviously that's not inspiring trust in your people that you're working with or for. So you should be really considerate of fonts, and also, a lot of times simple is better. You want to think about simplicity, legibility, how you're going to present this, things like that. But be careful with fonts. So when you're thinking about your brand strategy, you want to think about your mission, goals, and vision. And these are just, short statements to describe what your brand is, what you want to achieve, and the future of your company. Color palette. When I do my little tutorial, I will go over kind of how to pick colors or how to start picking colors. But again, super important. You want to have the right vibe. You want to not use too many colors. Like 4 is, I would say, absolute max, because it will be too much real fast. You can definitely have like different shades and think about that way, but you also want to have like, this is what it would look like black and white. Because say if you had your logo in, I don't know, a newspaper, they still print those. So think about those sorts of things. Like, does this logo look good in black and white? Will these colors kind of all look the same when it's in black and white? Things like that. You'll also need to figure out hex codes and RGB color codes for your colors. And there is this nice little website, color-hex.com, where you can put in whatever the CMYK or RGB codes are, which are you'll get originally from, say, Canva. I'll show you how to see those. And then you put them in here to get your hex codes. And these can be important for things like, reverse that. These can be important for things like printing. A lot of printers, professional printers, need your CMYK codes instead of the RGB ones because they just look better at printing. So you want to make sure that you have all those. So basically in your brand guide, you'll be able to see this is the hex code, this is the RGB code, this is the CMYK code, just so, again, you have those as a reference. And when you have the brand kit in Canva Pro, it does you have an option to save that. I'll show you what that looks like because we use Canva for the entire Boston Public Library. So we have Canva Pro because the entire system uses it. So it's a really great way to make sure that we are using the same brand. So like the Christine Business Library has different colors for our logo than the Boston Public Library in general. So we have our own little section that has our logos, our colors, everything like that. Again, fonts. You don't, 2-3 fonts, usually 2 fonts is plenty. You can also use 1 font and just have, I'll again show you how you could have different like bolds, and you can even on Canva, you can have different levels of bold, which is fun. But you're just thinking about like your titles, your headings, your subheadings, the body of your text that you're going to use. But again, don't go crazy. Don't think that you have to have 3. You can have just 2. That's fine. And again, simple. Like these are a serif and a sans serif fonts. They're very easy. Just think about what's legible, readable. That's why things like Helvetica, Times New Roman are very classic because they're very readable. You'll also need to have things like, here's how the logo can look and here's how it can never look. You want to make sure that you're using if your logo is being distributed to other partners to use, you want to make sure that it's the correct logo. So in the correct colors that you've approved, in the correct fonts you've approved, things like that, because brand recognition is really important. So like random in this teal and this green logo and this stretched out random and this orange logo, those could be very well, or this one on a slant could very well be different companies. Or this one above this, like these all could be different. This one's lowercase, this one has an uppercase R, things like that. You want to make sure like this is what our logo, this is the only way it can be shown. I mean, sometimes you could have different colors. Again, if your colors were teal and green and you wanted to reverse these, like these are acceptable ways to show them. But if they're not, like don't, just make sure that it's always shown the same way because you want that brand recognition. Like you think about things like Coca-Cola or McDonald's, like you can see, you don't even have to necessarily see um, the word Coca-Cola. If you see that red in that font, you immediately know that that's what that is. And that's what everyone should aspire to when you're creating your logo, is that people don't even have to think about, don't even have to read, honestly. They can just be like, oh, that's that product that I love. And again, for your photography guidelines, if you use photos a lot in your marketing, write out some guidelines for the type of photos that should be used. You can use stock photography. And at the end of this, I'll show you a few stock photography websites that you can use. But if you're selling a product, you should have pictures of your product. You shouldn't use stock photos. Like if you're a bakery, you should use photos of your cookies. You shouldn't find stock photos of cookies. That's not honest. And why? And again, you want to, when you're taking photos, you want to make sure that it's the correct vibe of your business. So maybe if you're like having like a sunny neighborhood bakery, you don't want to have like a dark, moody picture of a chocolate chip cookie. Unless, maybe it's Halloween and you want to get a little spooky, but in general, you want to have that same vibe. I've always been taught that it's a good idea to have use the same filter on Instagram for your company. So just use one filter. Don't use a different filter every single time. Use the same filter or no filter. But if you're going to use a filter, just use the same exact one every single time so that there'll be consistency again in all of your Instagram photos. And again, your business name spelling. You want to make sure that your business is spelled the correct way. Your business, I mean, I think about, there's a couple restaurants right now called Cava. There's other companies called Cava. They're all spelled different ways. They have different fonts, but you want to think about that. Like, oh, I want to make sure that if I'm going to, it's like, my name is Desiree Rose. My last name is Rose. So what if someone spelled it like the flower? So what if someone spelled it like ROWS? Obviously that's not me. That's not my brand. Even my first name is kind of often misspelled. So you want to make sure, or can be spelled differently. So you want to make sure that you are editing whatever you're sending, or they're sending back, you're seeing copy of however your business is being marketed, to make sure things are spelled right. Because, I teach a class called Webcraft, which is about like developing your website. And we could talk a little about search engine optimization. And if people are Googling your company and they misspell it, or they've seen it misspelled, and then they're trying to search for it, it's going to be so much harder for them to find your business or your product. So just things to think about. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about how to design in Canva. So a really cool thing about Canva is that you can search anything. So you can start up here if you want and just go to, I could put in logo and find all different Canva templates for logos. Or I could go to templates over here and I can again type in logo. And it'll give me all of these different logos. You can start with a blank one, just like this. And here we have just your blank template of a logo. This is like just classic logo shape. And if you go into design and then click here, you can type in whatever type of company you have, and they'll give you all the templates that they have. So we're going to try Flower Shop. Obviously, this is my regular one. And here we have all of the Flower Shop logos. There are a lot of them. If you see this crown right here, that means that these are pro templates. So I am using a Canva Pro account, so I can use any of these. But if you don't have Canva Pro, you could use any of the ones that don't use Canva Pro, don't have the crown. Obviously, there are different amounts of them. What I like to do is kind of look through a bunch of them and add in like whichever ones I like. So to duplicate it, just to make a new page, you can just go right add page, and you can just add in a bunch so you can start playing with the different elements of your logo. When you are creating a logo using a Canva template, do not just use the template as it is. So say I liked this one, this Lyceria Forest Flower Shop. I like elements of this design, but I like the circle. I probably will change the flowers. I obviously will change the name. I might change the font. I probably will. But the reason you want to do this is because you don't want your logo to look the same as someone else's. So there's a good chance that someone has used this and just been like, I just put my name, Desiree Rose, Flower Shop. And then you could put your own flower shop name and then be like walking down the street and be like, wait, that looks really familiar. Don't want to do that. So I would do things like I'll take away these elements. I might take away the established, or maybe put in the city, or write something else like Boston, Mass. And again, it's really easy. You just type in whatever, you just click on it and change whatever it says. And then I'll look through and I'll be like, okay, I like that one, that logo, but I also like this one. And I'll be like, all right, what is this font? Click on this font. You can see Le Jour serif right there. And then this one is Hatton. So maybe I'm like, all right, let's try. And because you already have this one in the, on the same document, you can just, it'll show up right here. It'll show up as your document fonts, which is nice. So I'm like, oh, I like this font. Like I will add this font to my brand kit also as well. And then you're like, all right, sure, this is fine. And then you think about colors. So a fun thing about Canva is that you can upload a photo into your document, and then it will pull all those colors or the primary colors as like the document colors, so you can pick it. So I'm going to show you. So unsplash.com is a stock photo website. And again, this will be included on at the end of this presentation for you to look into as well with some other ones. So again, I just searched for flower shop and I looked for kind of inspiring photos of flower shops that I liked, that I thought like, this is what I want my flower shop to look like. Just gonna pick one. Pick this one. And then you go here to uploads, right here. Upload files. Go to downloads. And then there we go. So now this picture, it doesn't really matter the size of it, as long as it's here, is going to be included in my document colors. And so what that means is when I go to say this project, this page of my document, and go to the border colors, these are the document colors. And I'm like, okay, these are fine. Maybe I want to add a green. It is a flower shop or a plant shop after all. green feels like it should be included. So maybe I'm gonna go over here. And if you stay in the same kind of area of this gradient, then it will stay in kind of the same color families. And I'm like, all right, that dark green's pretty. We'll do that. And then this is the code for the colors. So this is good for you to know also. So, all right, I like this green. And then you can go down here and any of the same type of element. So you can probably see, I can zoom in for you a little bit. See here, there's one of these circles is green and the other one is still this like brownish red color from that it was originally. So any of the same types of elements, so it's not going to change the font when I click change all down here, but it will change the other types of like say lines. So I'm going to go change all, and now it's changed. Both of these lines are green, these lines are green, these lines are green. So that's a really fun little trick that it will just change all those for you. And so when you're say, if you're going to be using these colors that are this green, this maroon, this pink, a black, and like an off-white, you can say like if you wanted a black background and you wanted these to be white and the font to be the pink, you can just basically change those all with like a couple clicks instead of having to hit every element. And then let's say I want my name to be in this dark color. And then these little elements, if it'll let me. And sometimes you have to move things because the layers are annoying. There we go. And I want these to be also green and then change them all so they're all changed. And the thing about, if you've ever used any other graphic design tools like this, the layers of where things are. So if you right click, if you can right click, you go to layer, you can send things backward or forward so that you can reach them easier. But that's kind of how you would just adjust things. And then, you know what? My last name's Rose. So we're going to find a rose to use as the little image here. Oh no, in elements. So you click on elements, again, rose, graphics. Again, the same thing. All these ones with the little pro logo are Canva Pro. Everything else is free. And then just put that there. And the color. Let's do a little, you know what? We're going to add a color again because I want something brighter. And there you go. It's basic. This is just a little example of what you could do. What I like to do also, so say I'm done with, like, I figured this is like the basic of what I want my logo to look like, then you can get rid of this. And you can get rid of this picture now because you found your colors. And then you can duplicate this page and you can do different color variations. So again, say I want the background to be, say, let's do green. And then I want the lines to be white, change them all. Oops, sorry about that. and you want, change that one to green too. Your fonts to be in this bright color. Change those all. Find your little lines. Change those all. I don't know why that keeps doing that. I'm sorry about that. I lost my green too. But you get the picture. And then have your different versions of them so that you can show people, be like, which version of this do you like? Do you like how it looks here? Do you like how it looks? See how it looks black and white with the black background and all white elements and vice versa, things like that. Show people so that they know what's going on. And you don't want to make the decision yourself. You can also, I want to change this. I want to change the fonts. I want to change what's written on here. Maybe you want to have this fully reversed. Maybe you want to have your name up here and flower shop down here. You can do all those things. You can move this and put it all the way around, whatever you want. But play around with it. And then this is a trick. So say you had Canva Pro, you're like, this is my logo. This is what I want to use. You can, with Canva Pro, download something like a logo with a transparent background, which makes it so that you can put the logo on any color, or that's how you kind of would do for like print. If you were printing like t-shirts with your logo on it, they would just want the logo file. They wouldn't want the background. So you can only do this with Canva Pro, as you can see. So that's kind of the thing where if you want to use Canva Pro, once you have decided what you want your logo to be, and then you'll have this file already done. You can download it with a transparent background in any different color. But you can also do something, and I'm going to show you how you can put this on, pardon me. On a business card. So you probably want business cards and you want them to have your logo on them, right? So you can just search Canva for all different business card, see whichever one that you like, how it looks. Like this one seems to be a similar vibe of what we're doing. And you customize this. You will obviously be changing the font. So what was our font called? Change all those. If you had to set another secondary font, you could use that also and find that. We can do this, change to this one. Okay. I mean, that looks crazy, but sure. You would want to get rid of this element, right? And maybe, I mean, you could keep this little blob. It's kind of cute. But the way to just, so if you had Canva Pro, you could download your logo, this logo, with a transparent background, and then upload it in your elements, or sorry, in your uploads right here. You could upload that and then just put it in, add it to this business card. But if you don't have Canva Pro, there is a workaround for that. So all you do is select every element of this. All right. So see, everything is selected. And then copy, maybe if it will, did it. we'll deal with that in a second. And then bring it over here. And then up here, just change the size. And then that background is different, so we will just make it the same background, so it'll show up. Also, that blob looks weird now, so we're gonna get rid of that. And then we don't need sweet cake here because our name is right here. And you'll see as I'm moving it around, it kind of gives you directional. So it's like, this is where it's in the center. Very important to know. And then I can change any colors I want. So if I want all this to be green, and I want all this to be green, again, just changing all of those. And then obviously I would just change the font by clicking in it and typing out the correct or maybe I'm going to put my title. So, and then if you wanted to have it be double-sided, which can be nice. And you're like, okay, what am I'm not going to just have this blank. I could say, have it say Desiree Rose Flower Shop, or I could just have it be the flower, which could be cool. So again, you can just click on the flower element of your logo, copy it, and then put it right there. Make it any size you want. Maybe you don't want it like off center it up, whatever you want. You could also have like your website right on the bottom, so anything like that. Get creative. You know, again, this is kind of the same thing. You can add pages, you can play around with different layouts, you can do things like that. So don't just do it once and be like, this is settled, we're done. Play around with different options. I'm going to open the chat just for a second, see what we got. Definitely you can use a neutral color for your business, no problem. I would say like if you're going to use neutral colors, maybe use one pop of color, could be fun. I mean, it just also depends on the business. Obviously for something like a flower shop or a plant shop, it's good to have colors. But for, I don't know, maybe for a spa, you would want something soothing, maybe some blues, things like that. I will be sending the slides. The costs for Canva are in the beginning of the slide, so you'll be able to see that. The fonts I recommend, I mean, that's kind of how, when you're looking at the different templates, taking those different, trying out different styles, see what you like, what works. And again, the brand toolkit little tutorial that you can also, you'll also be able to click through for in this presentation once I send it to you, kind of shows you like how to get around the ideas of like what kind of fonts you're looking for. But I would definitely like look at all the different templates and be like, excuse me, I really like this style of font. Let me see what kind of other fonts are in this style. Play around. The pricing for Canva Pro, I think it's $14.99 a month. But again, that is included in this presentation. You can go back to it. The business card can be downloaded for printing for free. You can just download it. So I could download this right now and then, you know, send it to Staples for free. They also, I think Canva does printing. I've never, right over here, I think they do it. So however much it would be. I've never used Canva for printing, but could be a nice option because then it's like they do everything for you, which is nice. I don't know how long Canva has been around, actually. I would say probably like 5 to 10 years. So logos can be, you can download the logo. So over here, you could download this if you didn't have Canva Pro, but the background would be here. So what that means is you could only have it printed on things that were this color. So like if you wanted to do a black and white one, that would be probably fine. But the reason that you want it to just download the elements, if you're, and this is specifically for if you are having things like a t-shirt merchandise printed, is that if the, say the black is not the same black as the black t-shirt you're having it printed on, with like a black background and all your logo elements are white, then it's gonna look a little weird. So that's why I'm saying, once, when you want to use the Canva Pro tutorial, probably, or a trial, to have that feature where you can download your logo with the transparent background so that it doesn't look funky, if that makes sense. You're welcome. All right, let's go back to presentation. So, resources for learning Canva, besides this class, which is just an overview. Canva does have an awesome design school. So Canva is always coming up with new features. So like the website feature for Canva, like building a website with Canva, is pretty new. And it is a pretty basic, like one-page website, but it can be a nice way just to play around. But design school basically is like design professionals for Canva using their features. So is really the best way to learn Canva. And then as a Boston Public Library card holder, you have access to LinkedIn Learning, which has hundreds of thousands of programs, tutorials on so many different things. So you can learn about Canva if you are interested in learning more about, say, Adobe Photoshop. You can learn that there. But really anything you're looking to learn about, LinkedIn Learning is awesome. It is free through the library. You have to access it through bpl.org, but it is an incredible resource that I use all the time. And then where to find free images: Unsplash, Pexels, Pixabay. Excuse me. The reason that you want to use things like these websites instead of just Googling pictures is because you don't know the copyrights of these. So these websites have the stock images that are royalty free, things like that. So you're not, going against anyone's copyright. You don't want to get in trouble. But again, if you have products, you should be using pictures of your own products. I understand, like if it's a service and you don't have a brick and mortar location, maybe you just want like pictures of, down here we have flowers, rocks, things like that, whatever the vibe. If it was a spa, no, you'd want to take pictures of your actual spa. But if it's not a physical thing that you are selling, but if it's a service, maybe like that. Just use your own photos when you can. But there's nothing wrong with also just use these websites to find your photos instead of just Google. And that's that. Again, if you have any questions after this, I will open the floor for the next 10 minutes. But if you have any questions later, if you're thinking about this, please feel free to email us, or you can send us any of your questions in this form about any tech questions you might have.